What's up, everybody? It's Alan from Breaking and Entering, and I am so glad to be sitting down today. We are talking to Joe Cannon from Resurrectionists. Joe, how are you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing really well. Really, actually, I'm very glad that we got the chance to talk, because we've covered a lot of your stuff on Breaking and Entering, especially
Mhm.
leading up to the record that you guys put out last April.
Yep.
But wanted to learn a little bit more about the project, about Resurrectionists. So, if you could, in a nutshell, kind of tell us how this band kind of came to be.
Some years ago, I played in a band called Work with Jeff Brueggemann and Covey Lod. And Covey moved to Austin 6 years ago. And
Sure.
I tried various different ways of starting a new band with Jeff. And Resurrectionists is what ended up happening
Hmm.
there.
Oh,
So it's in certain respects, it's a successor band to Work, but it's very different.
yeah, I
And
was gonna say the sound is entirely,
well,
yeah.
and if you listen to our first tape from like 2019, it would be even more different because our initial lineup included a pedal steel player.
Hmm.
So
Okay.
like the original lineup was Jeff and I, Josh Bardo playing drums, and Gavin Hardy playing pedal steel. And
Hmm.
when Gavin moved to upstate New York, we didn't try to replace. He was kind of a unicorn, a really good pedal steel player who was into weird rock music and willing to be a member of a band as opposed to a hired gun.
Yeah,
Not
I was gonna say
that's
probably not something you see often. Yeah,
stack that many
that checks
variables
all the
up.
boxes.
Yeah, exactly. Stack that many variables up, and you get a population of zero,
Right.
or one who now lives in New York. Um,
Sure.
so yeah, and so when he moved, I brought my friend John Pogliano, who's played in a bunch of bands like Brain Bats and things like that. Um, and Didn't try to replicate the pedal steel. He brought in keys and a weirdly affected 12-string guitar. And so it went in a bit more of an experimental direction. So that's where the kind of like weird cross section between like, I don't know, old timey music and noise rock that we have going on.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it. And so when was that lineup change? Because you
It
when you
was
think
pretty
about the
early.
record,
Yeah, it
pretty
was
early on.
pretty early on.
Okay.
I think I think we knew Gavin was moving when we played our first show. It was kind
Okay.
of like, oh, great. And so
Immediately it was the end of the original lineup, but also the first like debut.
right. Yeah, I don't know how many shows we played with him before he moved. It was not many.
Sure.
And then we
Um,
woodshedded for a while, brought John on, and that's been the lineup since
yeah.
October 2019, 2020. Because it was this lineup all through the pandemic.
Okay, that's what I was gonna ask. I was gonna ask you about now that we are all ghosts, obviously lineup change and then a pandemic hits.
Right.
Like when did you kind of start working on that record? Because obviously some pretty big shifts in the world
Yeah.
happened in the course of that period.
Well, strange thing about the record is there's several things on it that sound like they're about the pandemic, but they were things that I had written well before. So, for example, there's a song on the record called "New Winter." Okay, what am I? Hold on a second.
Mhm.
Oh yeah, there's a line on the record in "New Winter." It's like put the city on lockdown, put it on quarantine.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
There you go. Way to predict it.
which did not come from the pandemic. It was because I had been reading Thomas Mann, and there's his short story, "A Death in Venice," is about a pandemic in Venice. And so I'm like, yeah,
So it's on you. It's your fault. No, I'm just kidding.
it's my exactly
Yeah.
blame. And so the songs on this record have been in development since 2019. And we were when the pandemic hit, um, I decided that, we all decided that we were in each other's bubbles. So like my entire social circle for like a year and a half was my roommate, the girl I was dating, and the rest of Resurrectionists.
Okay.
That
Sure.
was it.
So writing a record like that, obviously during a pandemic, or even writing, before that, and then things become eerily true.
Right.
Did anything kind of shift in that period that you were like, okay, maybe we could tweak this, or did, concepts of songs changed or anything like that? Like, because there is so much downtime before the record ultimately gets released.
I think the big thing that happened with that record is we recorded it ourselves,
Hmm.
as opposed to going into a studio and doing it. And it was great, but it turns out when you have the luxury to endlessly dicker with things, you endlessly dicker with things. It took us a solid
Yeah.
year to record the record.
Yeah, I was gonna say when you have that many cooks in the kitchen and nobody, because you guys didn't work with an outside producer on that one at all, right?
No, not on this one.
Yeah, so there's not a person there to kind of be the captain that is not also directly involved with the process.
Right,
That, I mean, I could see that getting almost tense at times too, because the number of, people saying, "Well, I like this idea, but I have this idea," and there's really nobody there to be the mediator on that. Did that
right.
kind of come about to some extent?
I don't know if that was the problem. It was less of like a authority structure problem and more a problem of we weren't on the clock paying somebody by the hour to record the record for us. It's like
Mhm.
when you've booked studio time, you've got to get the thing you're doing done, or you've got to book another day in the studio. So
Yeah.
it's like that produces an artificial deadline where you're just like, all right, we got to get this thing finished because we got to clear out of here by midnight.
Right.
Whereas this was like, Jeff would bring his laptop to the practice space and we'd goof around with stuff. We'd do a little vocals, this, a little like, and then he was the one who recorded it. And so then he would like sometimes go to the practice space himself and like record 15 different bass tracks that he would all reject. And then, so yeah, it was one of those things where it kind of, I mean, I think the end product was unique in ways that I
Right.
would not, we would not have written this record or recorded this record if we didn't have that strange process. Um,
Mhm.
but, but if it means anything, the thing that we're working on right now, we are using a recording engineer in Chicago and doing it a little bit more of the traditional way. Record
Sure.
the tracks in a couple of days, overdubs in a day, and
Yeah. Things that need to be
and
done
then
like
have
on a
and then
timeline.
have some other guy we're paying mix it.
Yeah. Um, so a couple questions from that. Did anybody know about recording and mixing prior to this record? I mean, you said one of you guys recorded it, but did you guys know that ahead of time, or at least have
It,
the enough to be dangerous kind of thing?
yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Jeff knew enough to get started and learned a ton during the process.
Sure. Okay. And
I
then
I knew nothing about how to record music going in, and I still know
okay. Hey,
nothing.
sometimes that's the best way to go about it. Just that like kind of naivete of like, all right, I'm gonna play now and
Right,
hopefully somebody puts
exactly.
it down.
Yeah, yeah. I
One
surround
of the
myself
in
with people who know how to do things.
Right. One of the interesting aspects of this record too is there are so many videos that came out of this.
Every single
Was that always part of the plan, or did that kind of just come across in development and with time and having time to work on the record?
we it was I'm trying to remember if I had come up with the having a song for every having a video for every song on the record was my weird idea.
Okay.
Um, and the rest of the band looked at me with concern.
Yeah.
um, yeah. So I can't remember if I had I believe it was sort of in the course of doing it that I settled on it. We had a couple of videos made. So Brian Tyson, who ended up doing 3 of the videos for the record, he had done one for us early on, actually two, that like because there's this one, the video for New Winter is like me walking around River West during the height of the
Mhm.
pandemic. It's like early 2021. Um, and deserted streets,
Yeah.
the old fuel storefront, chained up and things like that,
Yeah.
and then we had that one and the one for A Classic Dictionary, the first song on the record. He did both of those, and I think in the course of getting those made, I was like, I think I want to do this and have a song,
Sure.
have a video for every song on the record.
Oh my goodness. It sounds like a massive undertaking because just knowing from a production standpoint, the amount of work that goes into it. So,
Right.
kudos to you guys for being able to do that.
And
Um,
it ranged from videos where I just like asked somebody to do one and they like just ran with it and like, had me or us come in for like one day of footage and then just like made the thing and showed it to me later. And I was like, hey, great.
sure.
To ones where I was like deeply involved with every step of the process.
Yeah.
If I had been deeply involved with every step of the process for all nine of them, I don't think it would have been made.
I mean, that's a massive undertaking just to even get to one music video. So nine of them, yes, I cannot
Well, I
even
mean, my
imagine.
head's turned now. Our current project is 5 songs. It's going to be like a 4 song EP, and then we have one song that's reserved for a a compilation. But
Okay.
I'm gonna have I want to have a video made for all of them. I've just like now it's like if we write a song, there's going to be a video for it.
Now it's the resurrectionist way that there must be videos for all
It
of.
is.
You
It
just
is.
focused on the YouTube numbers, which I think is great. I mean, go for it.
No. Yeah, just like it just doesn't feel like a song's complete if I don't have some sort of like video thing for it now. I don't know.
It's a new leg of it
Problem.
is
It's a
that there has to be a
problem.
visual. How far are you guys into recording this? I mean, obviously you've got people that you're working with, but
Mhm.
how far into the process are you guys? And can we give
Uh,
it, maybe let's not give it a month, but like a rough season of the year that we should look to expect for it?
so I'm gonna do this a little bit differently. I believe the compilation track is gonna be coming out. It's for this music festival in Minneapolis called Caterwall.
Okay.
And there's a compilation associated with it, and that will be coming out before the actual festival, which takes place in Memorial Day weekend,
Okay.
so sometime before May. Um,
Sure.
and then the rest of it, I believe I'm not sure how we're going to release it. I'm considering just releasing them as a series of singles, and then once they're all out in the world, sort of in that form, then having a physical thing.
Mhm.
It's the endless problem of how do you release music nowadays? Um,
Yeah, and you're kind of guessing how people listen to and consume all of that too. I get that for sure.
right, right. I mean, and so I mean, the thing we knew we weren't going to be able to do was wait until we had a full album's worth of new material and record a full album, then put it out on vinyl, because then we'd be talking to each other in like 2025.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so there's a lot happening in your world right now. Are there shows happening too, like places you're going to
Yes.
road test a little bit of this material? Like what's kind of in the immediate future for Resurrectionists?
Yeah, we have the next time we're playing is February 15th. We're bringing our friends Terminus Victor up from Champaign, and we're going to play at Promises with them.
Sweet. Nice. Very cool. Well, there's a lot going on. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me. If people want to find Resurrectionists, where's the best place to go ahead and do that and follow you guys out?
There we've got well, Bandcamp, Resurrectionist MKE, and then the social media stuff, Instagram. It's our name on all things is Resurrectionist MKE.
Perfect. There we go. And don't forget, you can check out Resurrectionists along with a ton of other music coming out of Milwaukee every day over at breakingandentering.net. And you can find and follow us on all of our social media as well. Joe, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
You're welcome. Good talking to you.